A man's life moves in the direction of his thoughts. If your mind is filled with limits, your world will shrink to fit them. But when you expand your thinking, your world expands with it. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't opportunity, it's mindset. Because two people can face the same chance. One sees a wall, the other sees a door. What you believe determines what you build. Change your thinking and the world rearranges itself around you. Change your thinking and you'll change your income. We've been told that income is tied to occupation, that what you earn is decided by your job, your education, your background, or the economy. But history tells another story. For every man or woman who rose from poverty to prosperity, the first change was never in their job. It was in their mind. The moment their thinking expanded, so did their circumstances. Your job may give you a paycheck, but your mindset determines the size of it and how far it goes. Two people can hold the same position, earn the same salary, and yet one builds wealth while the other struggles. Why? Because one sees money as a tool, while the other sees it as a ticket to temporary comfort. One thinks in terms of growth, the other in terms of survival. The poor man says, "I'll work harder." The rich man says, "I'll think better." One labors for wages. The other builds systems that multiply those wages. The difference is not in effort, it is in understanding. You see, your income will never rise above your level of thinking. A man who believes he was born to struggle will always find proof of it. A man who believes he can grow, that he can learn, that he can create value, begins to attract opportunities where others see only obstacles. The world responds to your thoughts far more than it responds to your labor. Most people never question their beliefs about money. They assume that wealth is for the lucky or the cunning, and poverty is for the rest. But nothing could be further from the truth. Wealth begins as a state of mind, a pattern of thought, a philosophy of value, a discipline of decision. It begins the moment a person stops asking, "How can I earn more?" and starts asking, "How can I become more valuable?" The mind is the factory, and income is the product. If the factory is neglected, filled with doubt, fear, and excuses, the product will always be small. But if the factory is clean, focused, and guided by purpose, the product will naturally increase in quality and quantity. The poor often see money as something outside of themselves, something to chase. The rich see it as something that flows from within, the result of how they think, how they plan, how they act. That is why the rich become richer, not simply because they have money, but because they have mastered the inner laws that produce it. You cannot out-earn your own beliefs. You cannot build a fortune with a mind trained for scarcity. If you think small, you will live small, not because the world denies you, but because your own thoughts do. So if you wish to change your income, you must begin not with a new job, but with a new way of thinking. Because once your mind accepts abundance, it begins to notice opportunities that have always been there, waiting for you to see them. It all begins in thought, the invisible foundation upon which every fortune is built. The habits that keep most people poor without realizing it. Poverty is not always born from a lack of opportunity. More often, it is born from a pattern of thinking, and that pattern expresses itself through habits. A poor man does not remain poor because of his work, but because of the way he works, and more precisely, the way he thinks while working. Most people believe poverty is a condition of the pocket. It is not. It is a condition of the mind that eventually shows up in the pocket. There are certain habits, small and unexamined, that quietly build walls between a person and prosperity. They are not dramatic. They are subtle. That's why they survive unnoticed. One of the first is reactive living, waiting for life to happen instead of planning for it. The poor man moves with events. The rich man moves ahead of them. The poor man spends his days responding to urgencies, solving problems that could have been prevented. The rich man spends his days shaping direction, thinking before acting. One is always chasing, the other is always creating. Another habit is confusing motion with progress. Many people work endlessly, filling their days with activity, mistaking exhaustion for achievement. They say, "I'm working hard," but they never stop to ask, "Am I moving closer to my goal?" The poor man believes in sweat alone. The rich man believes in thought, guided by purpose. A third habit is spending to appear successful instead of becoming successful. The poor man buys to impress. The rich man invests to improve. One seeks validation, the other seeks value. You will never rise financially if your mind values appearance more than advancement. Every coin spent to prove worth is a coin taken from your future. Another subtle habit, blaming instead of learning. The poor man finds comfort in excuses. He blames the government, the market, his employer, or his upbringing. The rich man takes responsibility even when he is not at fault. Why? Because only the one who takes responsibility gains the power to change his condition. The man who blames hands away his power. And perhaps the greatest habit that keeps people poor is short-term thinking. The poor man sees only the week ahead, sometimes only the day. The rich man plans years, even decades forward. One is satisfied by survival, the other is driven by vision. These habits are not broken by chance. They are replaced one by one through awareness and discipline. To break reactive living, begin each day with purpose. To overcome the illusion of progress, measure results instead of activity. To defeat impulsive spending, delay gratification, and let your money work before you do. To silence blame, take ownership of every outcome. To escape short-term thinking, plant goals that take years to bloom, and nurture them patiently. The poor man's greatest tragedy is not that he lacks money. It is that he repeats the same thoughts and expects a different life. The rich man's greatest advantage is not that he has money. It is that he examines his thinking daily, discarding what weakens him and reinforcing what strengthens him. Wealth begins when you stop living by habit and start living by intention. How to replace emotional spending with strategic thinking. Most people never realize how deeply their emotions control their money. They do not spend with intention, they spend with impulse. When they feel tired, they buy comfort. When they feel insecure, they buy appearances. When they feel unhappy, they buy distraction. Each purchase offers a brief illusion of satisfaction, but afterward, only regret remains. And over years, these moments of emotion carve invisible holes in their financial life. The poor spend emotionally. The rich spend strategically. The difference is not in income, it is in mindset. The poor man asks, "Can I afford it?" The rich man asks, "Do I need it?" The poor man buys what soothes him. The rich man buys what serves him. Emotional spending is the quiet thief of progress. It convinces you that you deserve a reward for your struggle, that comfort today will ease your hardship tomorrow. But it never does. It only replaces the pain of effort with the pain of regret. The wealthy think differently. Before they spend, they pause. They ask themselves a few simple questions. Does this purchase create value or only consume it? Will this choice make me stronger or weaker a year from now? Am I buying this because I need it or because I need to feel something? That short moment of reflection separates wisdom from waste. It's not the size of the purchase that matters. It's the quality of the decision behind it. You see, strategic spending is not about being cheap. It's about being conscious. The wealthy understand that every coin is a worker and every dollar a potential servant. They ask, can this dollar go out and bring more back? If the answer is yes, they invest. If not, they hold. They treat money like a seed, precious, powerful, and capable of multiplication, but only if planted wisely. Poor thinking treats money like a fruit, something to be eaten and enjoyed quickly. Rich thinking treats money like a seed, something to be planted and grown patiently. There is another reason the wealthy think strategically. They understand that emotion clouds judgment. The moment you buy in haste, you surrender control. The man who cannot control his spending cannot control his future. He will always be a servant to his desires, not the master of them. To shift from emotional to strategic thinking, one must practice awareness. Each time your hand reaches for the wallet, pause. Ask what you are really buying, the object or the feeling behind it. Over time, that pause becomes power. It rewires the mind from reaction to reflection. When you stop buying to feel rich, you begin to become rich. Because real wealth is not about what you own, it's about what you can choose not to buy. Strategic thinking in money is not cold or mechanical. It is intelligent care. It is giving your money direction instead of letting your emotions direct you. The poor man spends first and wonders later. The rich man wonders first and spends later. One drains his fortune, the other multiplies it. To master your money, you must first master yourself. The mental shift that turns effort into wealth. Effort alone has never created wealth. If hard work were the secret, every laborer would be rich, and every farmer would own the land he tills. But the truth is, the world rewards not effort alone, but effective effort, effort guided by thought, direction, and understanding. The poor often believe that working harder is the answer. They pour more hours into the same routine, exhaust themselves, and yet wonder why their lives do not change. They equate movement with progress and sweat with success. But wealth is not earned by motion, it is earned by method. It begins when effort is joined with intelligent purpose. The rich think differently. They ask not, "How much can I do?" but, "How much can I create?" They seek leverage, ways to make each hour, each action, each decision multiply in value. The poor trade time for money. The rich use time to create systems that work even when they do not. The poor focus on tasks. The rich focus on results. This mental shift, from laboring harder to thinking smarter, is what transforms effort into wealth. The man who chops wood all day may indeed grow stronger, but unless he learns to build a mill, he will never grow richer. The woman who sells her time by the hour may earn her living, but until she learns to multiply her value, she will always remain bound by the same clock. Effort without growth becomes a cage. Effort guided by thought becomes a key. The wealthy understand that the mind is the true source of power. They study their work as much as they perform it. They step back to observe, asking, "Is there a better way? Can this be improved, delegated, or automated? Am I building something that will serve me tomorrow, or only something that sustains me today?" Every hour of reflection saves 10 hours of blind labor. The poor rush into work, the rich pause to think, and because of that pause, their work yields 10 times the reward. The shift begins when you stop asking, "What must I do to earn?" and start asking, "What must I learn to earn more?" When you move your mind from the laborer's bench to the architect's table, your effort begins to multiply. Wealth is not built by doing more, but by becoming more. When a man increases his understanding, he increases his worth. A day spent improving your mind is worth more than a week spent repeating the same task. The poor work within the limits of their hands. The rich expand the limits of their mind. Thinking itself is work, the highest and most profitable form of work. Few engage in it deeply, for it requires solitude, patience, and honesty. But those who do find that a single idea, born in reflection, can replace a lifetime of blind effort. Effort without direction leads to exhaustion. Effort guided by vision leads to abundance. So, if you wish to turn your effort into wealth, stop measuring your day by how much you have done, and begin measuring it by how much you have improved. The man who grows daily in thought and understanding will soon find his income rising to match the expansion of his mind. Because, as Earl Nightingale himself once said, "We become what we think about." And when a man begins to think like a builder of wealth, his hands will soon follow. How rich people think, plan, and act differently every day. If you were to observe a wealthy person closely, you would not find magic in their actions, only mastery in their thinking. The difference is not in the number of hours they work, but in the clarity with which they use those hours. The wealthy live each day with intention. They think long before they act, and because of that, every act carries power. The poor live reactively. They wait for the day to begin, for someone to tell them what to do, for circumstances to decide their pace. The rich begin their day with design. They decide where their energy will go, what deserves their focus, and what must wait. One is driven by pressure, the other by purpose. The rich do not drift. They plan. They look ahead and think in terms of structure. A poor man may say, "I will try my best today." A rich man says, "I will direct my best today." The difference seems small, but its effects are vast. One spends effort randomly, the other invests it wisely. Every day, wealthy people think in terms of building and multiplying. They ask questions that most never consider. How can this effort be improved? Who can I collaborate with? What system can make this easier next time? Each answer creates leverage, and leverage is what turns ordinary action into extraordinary results. To the poor mind, the day is something to survive. To the rich mind, the day is something to shape. And that simple shift, from endurance to design, transforms not only income, but destiny. Poor thinking stops at the problem. It says, "This cannot be done." Rich thinking moves beyond it and asks, "How can it be done?" One shuts the door, the other builds a key. That mindset alone is worth more than a lifetime of labor. The wealthy also understand rhythm. They move with consistency. Each morning they anchor their thoughts in goals. Each evening they review their progress. They treat their days like chapters in a book, deliberate, connected, meaningful. The poor, on the other hand, treat each day as a separate event, disconnected from the next, and so their lives never gain momentum. The rich act on plans, not on moods. If they feel tired, they still move. If they feel uncertain, they still proceed. Emotion does not decide their action, principle does. They are not servants to their feelings, but masters of their direction. The poor wait for motivation, the rich rely on discipline. The poor dream of a better future, the rich design it, one deliberate decision at a time. The poor talk of luck, the rich talk of preparation. Every day, the rich mind builds a pattern, thought, plan, action, review, repeated until it becomes second nature. And when such a mind meets opportunity, success is inevitable. The difference is not mystical, it is methodical. It is not luck, it is law. When a person begins to think with purpose, plan with foresight, and act with discipline, life itself begins to yield. The world rearranges around the mind that knows where it is going, and that, in the end, is the quiet secret of the rich. They don't wait for wealth, they think it into being, plan it into shape, and act it into reality. So everything begins in the mind. Before a man changes his world, he must first change his thoughts. Before wealth fills his hands, it must first fill his head. You cannot rise higher than the ideas that live inside you. The poor think of survival. The rich think of expansion. The poor think of limitation. The rich think of creation. Both live in the same world, but one builds bridges where the other sees walls. Your income is not your job. It is your philosophy. It reflects what you believe about effort, value, and possibility. Change those beliefs, and the numbers in your life will begin to change with them. Think differently about time, and you'll use it differently. Think differently about money, and you'll multiply it instead of spending it. Think differently about yourself, and the world will begin to treat you as you see yourself. The man who changes his thinking changes his future. And when you stop doing what poor people do, when you refuse to live by fear, impulse, or limitation, you step onto the path that wealth has always waited to meet you on. Change your thoughts, and you will change your income. Change your income, and you will change your life.